Hi everybody, it's great to be back again. It's Friday, Parashat Shoftim. And today we're going to learn a lesson of sensitivity, how important it is not to hurt someone's feelings, not to embarrass somebody, to be sensitive to your neighbor. Right? A person has to always have that special quality of being sensitive, to be aware. Maybe you're going to hurt somebody, maybe you're hurting their feelings. Let's be sensitive. Let's look out for others, the feelings of others. It's so important how we think and how we relate to our fellow human being. And here the Torah is so clear in teaching us this lesson. It's a beautiful lesson, this week's portion, on that area. And what I'm referring to is when the Torah talks about in Deuteronomy, Dvarim, our portion, Shoftim, chapter 20, and it brings down the different reasons why a person is exempt from battle. And there are three reasons brought down. A person who built a new house and he didn't live in it yet, or a person planted a vineyard and he did not yet redeem his vineyard. We're talking about after 3 years of the Orlah, he's not allowed to eat of the fruit. In the fourth year, he redeems the fruit. He takes those fruit to Jerusalem, right? And he eats them in Jerusalem, or he takes the money from he redeemed the fruit with money, takes the money and buys fruit in Jerusalem. There's a special holiness to that, participating in your first fruits of your vineyard, or other trees, other fruit trees as well, which brought down Jewish law. And the third example is someone who got engaged and did not yet complete the wedding. In the times of the Torah, there was like a two-stage, and the Talmud talks about a two-stage cycle. Number one is engagement. Engagement is part of the process of doing the ceremony of the ring. And then later on, it would take like a year to get ready for the wedding, and then they would get married and live together. So today we do it all under the canopy. But anyway, these are the three reasons brought down by the Torah why a person is exempt from going to battle. And the battle we're talking about here is what we call a war that is not obligatory. A war, there's a wars that are for our survival, for self-defense, and that there are no exemptions. Here we're talking about a different kind of battle. A battle that to expand the borders of Israel, a battle that doesn't take place on the homeland, is not threatening the homeland. There are different levels of battle. And anyway, the Torah goes on to say, after mentioning these three reasons why a person is exempt, it brings down a fourth, and it says, who's a person who has a soft heart, who's afraid to go to battle, let him return. And that is the fourth reason. And now, our rabbis in the tractate of Sotah bring down the explanation of Rav Yossi HaGlili. Rav Yossi HaGlili, he says, we're not talking about a person who's afraid because he's afraid of blood, or he's afraid of going to battle because he's a weak person. We're not talking about a pacifist here, right? There are others who explain it that way, but Rav Yossi HaGlili says, no, that's not the understanding here. The understanding of a person who's afraid, he's afraid of the sins in his hand. Maybe he committed transgressions. He hasn't been the most religious person, and he's afraid. He's afraid because he has sins. And if a person who goes to battle after transgressing, he has less of protection because he's a person who's not on a high spiritual level. And the Torah is so sensitive, even with a person who's afraid because he sinned. Rabbi Yossi HaGlili teaches us that the Torah does not want everyone to know, oh, this person is a sinner. So what does the Torah do? It gave other reasons why a person could be exempt. Whether you built a new house, you just engaged a woman, or you just got engaged, right? Or you planted a vineyard. So therefore, when a person sees someone returning from battle, he could say, you know something, the reason he's returning from battle doesn't necessarily mean he's afraid because he has sins in his hand, but he got engaged, or he just built a new house, or he just planted a vineyard. In other words, the Torah is so sensitive that even if we're dealing with a person who has sins in his hand, that's why he's afraid to go to battle. The Torah does not want the whole world to know that. It's a very private thing. It's between the person and God. And God is a judge. And you shouldn't, of course, be a judge for someone else. And therefore, the Torah is saying you must be sensitive and show your feelings for your fellow person. Learn from the Torah itself. The Torah is showing feelings for a person who actually is transgressed. He's not on a high spiritual level. He's not a great human being, right? He has a lot to rectify. He's afraid of the sins in his hand. But nevertheless, the Torah is showing respect for that person, is honoring that person. So what is the lesson we learn out from all this? We learn out an amazing lesson that we must be sensitive to our fellow human beings, to our spouses, to our children, to our families. Let us not embarrass somebody. Let us always think about the implications of what we say to somebody else, and make sure we are sensitive to that person's needs and feelings, and this will bring a beautiful rectification for mankind to show our love to our fellow neighbor. Shabbat Shalom, B'sorot Tovot, Yeshuot v'Nechamot.